The Lucky Egg, Friedrich Reinhold Kreutzwald. Once upon a time, a poor man lived in a great forest with his wife. God had given them 8 children. The parents were not very happy when the 9th little son was born to them in their old age. But as God had given it to them, they had to accept it and to have it christened. But they could find no one willing to stand godparent for the child.
I will take the child and carry him to the church next Sunday, and say that, although I can find no godparents for the child, the priest do as he will. Then, whether he christens the child or not, no sin can rest on my soul.
When he set out on Sunday, he found a beggar sitting by the wayside near his house, who asked for some money.
I have nothing to give you, dear brother, but if you will do me a kindness, come and stand godfather to my child. I see what I can do.
Yes, I accept to be your child's godfather.
The beggar went with him to the church. Just as they arrived, a magnificent carriage with 4 horses drove up, and a young Saxon lady stepped out.
Noble lady, whoever you may be, will you not have the kindness to stand godmother to my child?
Oh, it's my pleasure to stand as your child's godmother.
The priest and the congregation were much surprised to see a poor beggar man and a proud, handsome lady standing together as the godparents for the child. The child was baptized by the name of Bertel. The rich lady paid the christening fees and also made christening present of 3 rubles. The beggar took from his pocket a small box, wrapped in piece of rag, and gave to the child's mother.
My christening gift is poor enough, but it may possibly bring your son good fortune some day, if it comes to the hands of him for whom it is destined. It may bring him great fortune, but guard the egg like the apple of your eye, that it does not break. For the shell of fortune is tender.
The little Pater grew and prospered and became a delight to his parents, and at the age of 10 he was sent to another village to become the herd boy to a rich farmer. When he left home, his mother put his christening gift in his pocket and told him to keep it as safe as the apple of his eye, and Pater did so. There was an old lime tree in the fields, and a large granite rock lay under it. The boy was very fond of this place, and every day in summer he used to go and sit on the stone under the lime tree. It was remarkable that there was no such fine grass anywhere as between the stone and the spring that was nobly. The stone was like a dear friend to Pater, and he parted from it every day with a heavy heart, and returned to it next day full of longing. So Pater lived till he was 15 years old, and was no longer to be a herd boy. One Sunday evening he was sitting on a stone playing the flute, when a milk-white snake crept out from under the stone. It raised its head as if to listen, and looked at Pater with its bright eyes, which shone like fire. This happened often, and whenever Pater had any time to spare, he used to hasten to the stone to see the beautiful white snake, which at last became so familiar with him that it often coiled round his leg. Pater was now growing up to be a young man. His father and mother were dead, but the white snake had grown dearer to him than his brothers and sisters, and his dogs were with her by day. On Midsummer Eve, in all the villages, old and young went together to St. John's fire. Patel slipped away to the lime tree, the only place where his heart was at ease. He sat down on the stone and began to play on his flute as usual. All at once the fire blazed up all around him. It was the sparkling eyes of the white snake. She played about his feet again, allowed him to stroke her. At almost midnight, the snake crept back on her nest under the stone, and did not repair while Patel was playing, and he prepared to go home. The leaves of the lime tree rustled in the breeze.
Thin shelled is the egg of fortune, and the heart is full of sorrow. Do not spoil your fortune.
What does the lucky egg matter to me when no happiness is for me in this world? I have left from childhood that I was unfit to mix with men, for they do not understand me, and I do not understand them. What causes pleasure to them is painful to me, while I myself know not what could make me happy, and how then should the others know it? Riches and poverty stood together as my godparents, and therefore nothing will go right with me.
Suddenly it became as bright around him as if the midday sun was shining on the lime tree and the rock. Then he beheld a lovely female figure sitting beside him on the stone.
Dear young boy, fear nothing, but listen to the prayer of an unhappy girl. I am imprisoned in a miserable dungeon, and if you do not pity me, I can never hope to escape. I am the daughter of a king from the east. My father possesses fabulous riches in gold and silver, but all this helps me nothing, for a witch has made me live under the sun in the form of a white snake. I have lived so for many centuries without ever growing older. Your heart is as pure as that of a child, as yet ignorant of falsehood and deception. You have all the signs which point to my rescue. A noble lady and a beggar stood together as your godparents, and your christening gift was the egg of good fortune. Save me, oh save me from this endless imprisonment. I beg you in the name of all the angels.
Having so spoken, she fell at Patel's feet, embraced his knees, and wept bitterly.
If it was possible for me to save you, I would go through fire and water. I am filled with unknown longing, which allows me no peace, but what I long for I cannot tell.
Come here again tomorrow evening, around sunset, and if I meet you in my snake form, and wind myself round your body like a girdle, and kiss you 3 times, do not start or pull back, or I shall again be overwhelmed by the magic, and who knows for how many centuries.
As she spoke, the maiden vanished from the youth's sight, and he again heard the singing in the leaves of the lime tree.
Thin shelled is the egg of fortune, and the heart is full of sorrow. Do not spoil your fortune.
Patel went home and lay down to sleep before dawn, but his rest was disturbed by wonderfully vivid dreams, some beautiful, some horrible. At the appointed time, he stood by the stone under the lime tree and gazed, singing towards heaven, praying for strength and courage. Suddenly he remembered the lucky egg. He took the little box from his pocket, opened it, and took the little egg, which was not larger than that of a sparrow, between his fingers. At this moment, the snow-white snake glided from under the stone, wound round his body, and had just raised her head to kiss him, when he himself knew not how it happened. He pushed the lucky egg into her mouth. Patel fell to the ground as if he were dead, and knew nothing more of what happened to him. When Patel awakened from his heavy swoon, he found himself lying on cushions. The fair maiden knelt by his bedside, patted his cheek, and cried out when he opened his eyes.
Thanks to the Heavenly Father who has heard my prayer, and 1,000 thanks to you, dear young man, who released me from a longer imprisonment. Take my kingdom as your reward, along with this beautiful palace and all my treasures, and if you will, also accept me as your bride.
No one could now come between Patil and his happiness and good fortune, and all the unknown longings of his heart, which constantly drew him back to under the lime tree, were finally gone. Great was the amazement of the people when they found no trace of either Patil. The lime tree, the stone, or the little spring never dried up.